I was 58 years old when I learned that my entire adult life had been built on a lie my mother told at a Thanksgiving dinner in 1984. The truth came out at another Thanksgiving dinner, 40 years later, in less time than it takes to brew coffee. I need to tell you about those 90 seconds. But first, you need to understand what came before them. My name is David. I'm the middle child of 3. Michelle is 5 years older than me. Aaron is 3 years younger. Growing up, I was the one who smoothed things over. When Michelle and Mom fought, I'd translate between them. When Dad's temper flared at Aaron, I'd redirect. I wasn't the favorite, but I wasn't the problem either. I was invisible in the useful way, like the hinges on a door. Nobody notices them until they stop working. Michelle left when I was 17. That's the verb we used, left. Not was pushed out, not was forced to choose, not fled. Left. As in, she made a choice. As in, it was her fault. The story I grew up believing was simple. Michelle had always been difficult, argumentative, too sensitive. She'd gotten into a fight with Mom over something trivial the day before Thanksgiving 1984, and she'd stormed out, declaring she was done with all of us. She called once, weeks later, and told Dad she wasn't coming back. That she needed to find herself or some other selfish 1980s psychological jargon. We sent cards to her apartment for a while. She never responded. Eventually, we stopped trying. I was angry at her for years. Hurt, really, but anger is easier to carry. She'd abandoned us. She'd broken Mom's heart. She'd missed Aaron's high school graduation, my wedding, the births of my 3 kids. She'd chosen her pride over her family. Except none of that was true. Here's what actually happened, and I only know this because of what my mother said last November, 40 years later, when her brain was starting to misfile memories and the locks on certain doors were coming loose. We were at my house for Thanksgiving. The whole family, like always. My wife Janet had done most of the cooking. My daughter Emma, who's 32 now, had brought her girlfriend. My son Marcus was there with his 2 kids. My youngest, Sophie, had flown in from Portland. Aaron came with his wife Beth. And Mom, who's 82 now and still living independently, though we're all watching for signs that might need to change. Dad died 6 years ago. Prostate cancer. He was 79. The dinner was fine. Normal. We did the thing where everyone says what they're grateful for, and it's always half sincere and half performative, but it's tradition, so we do it. Marcus's kids were loud. Emma and Sophie were tag-teaming some story about a disastrous road trip. Aaron was second-guessing the way I'd carved the turkey, which is his thing, finding small ways to assert himself. Mom was quiet, which wasn't unusual. She's always been more observer than participant. But she was present, smiling, eating her sweet potatoes the way she's always eaten them, with way too much butter. It was Sophie who asked the question. She'd been going through some old photo albums I'd pulled out for the kids, and she held up a picture of Michelle from 1983. Michelle was 18 in the photo, standing in our backyard in a Stanford sweatshirt, holding our old dog, Buster. "Who's this?" Sophie asked. It wasn't malicious. Sophie knew I had a sister technically, the same way you know you have distant cousins you've never met. I'd mentioned Michelle maybe twice in Sophie's entire life. She was a ghost in our family tree, a branch we'd pruned off. "That's your Aunt Michelle," I said, keeping my voice even. "My older sister. Why haven't I ever met her?" The table got quiet in that specific way that signals someone stepped on a mine. Emma shot Sophie a look. Janet suddenly became very interested in refilling water glasses. I was about to give the standard answer, the one I'd been giving for 40 years, that Michelle had chosen to leave the family a long time ago, and sometimes people make choices we don't understand. But Mom spoke first. "She didn't leave," Mom said. Her voice was casual, factual, the way you'd correct someone who said Tuesday when it was actually Wednesday. We told her not to come back. The table went silent. I remember this part in fragments, like broken glass. The way Janet's hand froze mid-pour. The way Aaron's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. The way Emma's eyes went wide and flicked to me. "What?" I said. Mom looked confused, like she didn't understand why everyone had stopped talking. "Michelle," she said patiently. "We told her she wasn't welcome anymore. After she said that about your father." My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. "Said what about Dad?" "About the girl," Mom said. "She said it the way you'd reference something everyone already knows. The one from his office. Michelle saw them at that restaurant in San Jose and she came home and told everyone at Thanksgiving dinner. In front of Aaron's girlfriend, in front of everyone. She wouldn't let it go. I couldn't breathe. So your father and I told her she needed to apologize and stop spreading lies, and she wouldn't, so we told her if she couldn't be respectful, she couldn't be part of this family." 90 seconds. That's how long it took for my mother to dismantle 40 years of carefully constructed narrative. 90 seconds, and she didn't even realize she was doing it. Aaron had gone white. "Dad cheated on you?" Mom blinked. "What?" "No. It was just lunch. A work thing. Michelle made it into something it wasn't because she was always so dramatic." "You kicked her out," I said slowly, "because she told the truth about Dad having an affair." "It wasn't an affair," Mom said sharply. Then, quieter, uncertain, "It was complicated. You kids didn't understand. Michelle was trying to ruin everything." I stood up. I don't remember deciding to stand up. I just was suddenly on my feet, and everyone was staring at me. "I need some air," I said. I went out to the back porch and stood there shaking. Janet came out after a few minutes, put her hand on my shoulder, didn't say anything. "She's good that way." Inside, I could hear Emma trying to restart conversation, something about the Lions game. Marcus was wrangling his kids. Normal sounds. Thanksgiving sounds. But everything was different. For 40 years, I'd believed my sister abandoned us. I'd carried that hurt like a stone. I'd told my own children, when they were old enough to ask, that sometimes people choose to walk away from their families, and it's sad, but you have to respect their choice. She didn't choose. She was 19 years old. She'd seen our father with another woman. She'd done what she thought was right, what she thought was honest, and we'd expelled her for it. Not we. Mom and Dad. But I'd gone along with it. I'd accepted their version. I'd been angry at Michelle for decades. I'd been angry at her for being honest. The rest of Thanksgiving was a blur. People pretended to eat pie. Aaron left early, claiming Beth had a headache. Emma kept hugging me for no reason, which made it worse somehow. Mom seemed confused about why everyone was upset, then forgot the whole conversation had happened and asked me if we were doing Christmas at my place this year like usual. When everyone was gone, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and did what I should have done decades ago. I searched for Michelle. It took me 20 minutes to find her. She's in New Mexico. She's a social worker specializing in family reunification, which feels like either cosmic irony or perfect sense. She's married. She has 2 adult children. Her Facebook page is private, but her profile picture shows her laughing, gray-haired, standing in front of red rocks with a golden retriever. She looks happy. She looks like she built a whole life without us. I wrote an email. Deleted it. Wrote another one. Deleted that too. What do you say? I'm sorry I believed you were selfish for 40 years when actually you were the only honest person in the room? I'm sorry I took their side without ever asking for yours? I'm sorry I didn't look for you sooner? I settled on simple, Michelle, this is David. I just learned the truth about 1984. I'm so sorry. I'd really like to talk if you're willing. I sent it at 2 in the morning. She responded 3 days later. David, I appreciate you reaching out. I'm glad you know the truth now. But I need you to understand that I've spent 40 years building a life that doesn't include the people who chose to believe I was a liar rather than accept something uncomfortable about Dad. I've been in therapy for most of my adult life working through what it does to a person to be erased by their own family. I forgive you, truly. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. I hope you understand. I hope you're well. Michelle. I read that email probably 100 times. The thing that stays with me is the people who chose to believe I was a liar. She's right. Mom and Dad made the initial choice, but I made my own choice every day after that. I chose comfort over curiosity. I chose the easy story over the complicated one. Aaron and I have talked a few times since Thanksgiving. He's struggling with it differently than I am. He was only 14 when it happened. He barely remembers Michelle. For him, it's more about Dad, about recontextualizing his entire childhood. He keeps saying, "What else did they lie about?" I don't have an answer for that. I haven't tried to contact Michelle again. I want to respect what she said. But I think about her constantly. I wonder what those 40 years were like for her. I wonder if she thought about us. I wonder if she ever drove past our street or looked us up online. Mom doesn't really remember the conversation. I wonder if she's relieved we're not in her life. Her memory is getting worse. Sometimes she asks about Michelle like she just saw her last week. Sometimes she doesn't mention her at all. I don't correct her anymore. What's the point? I told my kids the whole truth. They deserve to know. Emma cried. Marcus got angry on Michelle's behalf. Sophie, who asked the original question, felt guilty for weeks until I convinced her that the truth coming out was good, necessary, even if it hurt. But I'm not sure I believe that. Some truths don't set you free. Some truths just reframe your whole life and make you realize you were wrong about almost everything, and the person you thought you were, the peacemaker, the reasonable one, was actually just complicit in someone else's cruelty. I still do Thanksgiving at my house. We still go around the table and say what we're grateful for. But when it's my turn now, I pause longer than I used to. Because I'm grateful for Sophie's question, even though it shattered something. I'm grateful I know the truth, even though I can't fix what I didn't know I was breaking. And I'm grateful Michelle is happy, even though I'm not part of that happiness. But mostly, I carry this, the knowledge that 90 seconds can undo 40 years. That a single sentence from an aging woman who doesn't even remember saying it can collapse an entire family mythology. That the stories we tell about why people leave us are almost always designed to make us feel better about letting them go. Michelle didn't leave. We pushed her out, and I spent 40 years blaming her for falling. I don't know if that makes me a bad person or just a human one. I don't know if there's a difference. What I know is this: I was 17 years old when my sister told the truth, and my parents chose a lie, and I chose my parents. I've been 58 years old for 8 months now, and I'm still trying to figure out how to live with that choice. Some days I think I should try one more time to reach out to Michelle. Some days I think the kindest thing I can do is leave her alone. Most days, I just sit with it. The weight of it. The permanence of it. 90 seconds. That's all it took. And I'll carry it for whatever time I have left.